This is SBR's Football Betting Daily.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to SBR Sports Picks. My name is Peter Loshak. This is the Audible football show that is normally hosted by Jimmy the Bag, who does a great, phenomenal job, but he's getting a well-deserved vacation, a well-deserved break today, and that means that I, Peter Loshak, am going to be hosting this show, The Audible, with Donnie Rightside, and of course, Whale Capper will be joining us a lot later on in the show. We're going to talk about NFL Week 15. It's Friday, December 14th. Donnie Rightside, how you doing?
Doing good. Just setting it up, sending out some live tweets out here at this point. You know what's fun about the show, Pete? We set it up. Jimmy usually does a great job. You're right, on Tuesday. Then Friday, we sort of fine-tune it in there. We get that information. We can see some final injury reports. So Chatbox helps us out a lot. A lot of fun to do.
This is going to be a lot of fun for me because you know what, Donnie Rightside? I kind of forgot a little bit how much friggin' fun it is to handicap these NFL games in depth with other people talking about them. I used to do it, every week. This week it's kind of taken a little bit of a backseat for me in my overall schedule. I've been focusing on NHL, killing it in NHL, and doing pretty well in some other sports as well. But NFL, I'm so excited to get back into right now. Week 15, and I'll tell you what, Donnie Rightside, I don't know. I'm seeing about 5 or 6 games where I think I might be seeing a decent edge or two. Let's talk about it, Donnie Rightside. Let's start with the Houston Jets game, right? The 2 Saturday games, Houston against the Jets, right? Jets are off of 2 nice covers. The Texans off of their first loss after 9 straight wins, but maybe their issues with the offensive line that haven't hurt them so far this year starting to rear its ugly head a little bit, and maybe is starting to affect them and might affect them here, not necessarily resulting in an outright loss, but the Jets at home with Darnold, if he plays pretty conservatively and if he can limit turnovers, I don't know, the Jets catching 6.5 or 7. Got to be the Jets, right?
You know what's interesting about that, Pete? Like, looking forward to it as the week went on. The problem I had last week, I thought the Buffalo Bills played a decent football game, should have won the game versus the Jets. But hey, say what you want. A good football team who hasn't quit on their head football coach. The New York Jets played a good game, and they end up winning that game. Now, you're coming back a shorter week. And again, if you're taking a look from a Houston Texans perspective here, it's not like playing on a Thursday night, but it's another day shorter. We don't get the recovery. You got to travel. You got to go on the road. Not enough time to prepare. But the one thing that has me alarmed, though, Pete, because it's hard to win football games on the road as it is, and now you're seeing it creep up from the 6.5 to the 7s, is the Jets injury report. Now going in another running back down. Your top cornerback all of a sudden shows up as questionable to play before this football game. It's almost like the haves and the have-nots coming down the stretch, because as we look at the Texans, Pete, they're playing for a little bit more than just getting into the playoffs at this point, maybe a higher seeding. And what are the Jets really playing for? But your original point sticks up. Look, it's hard to go. You're asking them to win by double digits now to cash your bet for the Houston Texans.
And they have, the big factor for me is that the offensive line, again, for Houston, it's been a liability all year long, hasn't really mattered as yet, but they did catch a loss in their last game, and I think that's going to be a big factor here. More important to me, at any rate, than the injuries for the Jets that we've known about.
Yeah, no, and the Jets have usually been a decent team of playing. I don't want to say like a spread team, but if we take a look over the season, they did get beat by Miami, played a very good game versus Denver, lost to a tough, beat Indianapolis. Not forget that. So early in the season, they did have some nice ones. And let's also say the New England game, Pete, which ended up 27-13. So if you just look at the score and say, well, that's a 2-touchdown lead, Houston can do that. There was a play late in the football game where it looked like the Jets were going to have an easy touchdown to cover that backdoor number, and it got knocked away. So if that line was 27-20, and then you see they were a game in Tennessee. Let's not forget, Pete, they have a double-digit lead at Tennessee on the road, and they beat Buffalo. So there's still some good football to be played for them so far.
All right, so but no official pick from you as of right now, or no way. I don't know how Jimmy the Bag does it. Whenever I'm doing shows, I always ask guys for leans, pass, or official plays. And
we same thing there. To me, it would, if you're going to give me 7, the key indicator here, if you're going to give me 7 points on a short road week here, I'm probably going to lean towards the home team in this one. Over under, Pete, at 41. Seems to me like it should be an under type game, but we've all seen it, especially even in last night's game. The games that look like they're stone cold unders just seem to be going over. So it's a 41 number. I'll still lean on the over because it's so low at that point.
Yeah, Houston Jets. It opened at 42, but it's up to 44 now.
It's 40. Oh, it is. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, so I actually read the wrong one on that. Yeah, no, there you go. Hey, look, maybe they're watching the show, Pete. They like it. So
an official pick for you on the under and on the Jets?
Yeah, give me if I can get 7, which it looks like it's still doable out there, I would lean towards the Jets in that, and I would lean towards the over. Absolutely.
It's definitely headed up. All right, I will Yeah, I'm going to make the Jets an official play here as well at +7. +7, let's see, minus 110 at Pinnacle right now. I'm a little bit surprised to see where the line is. Let's move to the second Saturday game, which is Cleveland against Denver. And, of course, Cleveland been playing great and covering, and Baker Mayfield just playing phenomenally. Denver's really banged up now, especially in the secondary. I'm not exactly sure if I want to take Cleveland here, plus the points are on the money line. Definitely thinking, though, about Cleveland on the team total over at the very least. What do you think here?
Yeah, good game right here. I mean, you're saying, making the play. I mean, Cleveland, to me, they have a 1% shot, so technically they have a shot. I don't think they're getting the playoffs, but doesn't seem to be any quit in that football team, because when you have a young football team, the head coach has already been removed. They're still going to play out the string and not, quote unquote, give up. But what are you going to get out of Denver here? Devastating losses, looked like they were heading towards the playoffs, and then all of a sudden, through trades or injury, really depleted on the offensive side of the football. Even on the offensive line, Lindsey's been a very good running back at this point. He should be able to keep him in the football game, because the one thing you can do against the Cleveland Browns is you can run the football. You got high elevation. Here's the problem. Early in the week, trying to find a way, Pete, to try to take the Cleveland Browns, getting the 3 points. But now, obviously, we're looking at the show. It's 2.5, so much more, not as advantageous to take it. The one problem I have in this game, boy, I would have liked to have Denzel Ward at cornerback for the Cleveland Browns. Looks like he's going to miss his second straight game with the concussion. And it's something in me, Pete. I don't know if you have the same thing, like some quirks that you like to try to avoid. Even though Baker Mayfield seems to be not your normal rookie quarterback, it's still a rookie quarterback. It's still on the road. Right. You're going to be playing at elevation for the first time. It's a little bit too much for me only getting 2.5. Maybe if I'm getting 4 points or 3.5, Pete, I would lead towards Cleveland. It's just too much for me to say, you know what? Cleveland has to go in here and win this football game basically for me to cover.
All right, but what about just that? And that's what I'm saying. I'm kind of agreeing with you. I'm just thinking about the team total over here. I mean, last week, Nick Mullins shredded this defense, right? Now you got Baker Mayfield. I know he's a rookie on the road and elevation and all that, but they got shredded by Nick Mullins.
No, I hear you on that. I hear you on that point of view. So, I mean, I would be in agreement with you, because I think the one thing you like about Boomer Bust, of Baker Mayfield, he's not afraid to throw that. Hey, my wide receiver has one step in double coverage. I'm going to throw it. You saw last week, 51-yard touchdown pass to Jarvis Landry between two defenders. He's going to make that throw, and I agree with you on that.
Well, Nick O says, I'm reading some comments here. This one is similar to Browns at Texans. Too much Broncos D, lay the 3, but the injuries concern me, don't they? Don't they concern you?
Yes. Yeah, injuries concern me on both sides, on both of these football teams. If you're going to say I'm going to get the Denver Broncos, Pete, of a month and a half ago, Demaryius Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders, yeah, I'm all about it. But look, they struggled last week on offense, and they're going to struggle. Basically, they have a running game and try to build a passing game off that with Courtland Sutton as your go-to guy, who's, let's not forget, Pete, is banged up this week as well.
Right. So what about then the Denver team total under? What about that? That should be about, 24 or so.
Yeah, I mean, I usually lean a little bit more Denver unders, because I don't think they technically play two overs, but right. I don't like that Cleveland defense. If Denzel Ward's in there, I would agree with you. Since he's out, I think Denver can move the football a little bit in this game.
All right, well, I'm leaning Cleveland team total under, leaning Denver team total, Cleveland team total over, Denver team total under, and no play for you, Donnie, I guess.
No, not in this football game. If I was getting 3.5, I'd be at Cleveland, but if I had to take a play, Pete, it would be Denver for me at -2.5. That's what I will play here.
All right, so the next game we're going to talk about, Tampa Bay against Baltimore, right? Baltimore, a big favorite with Jackson in there. He opens things up for sure, but 7.5, is that maybe a little bit too much? The Buccaneers very up and down. Jameis Winston, there's dissension in the locker room, what people are saying. We saw the fight that happened with the center last week, but maybe because of that, Tampa Bay's getting a little bit disrespected here. Their game against the Saints last week was, maybe not quite as bad as the final score indicated. I don't know, maybe Tampa Bay getting 7 and a hook is a play?
Yeah, it's funny how it changes during the week, too, because early in the week I'm saying, boy, oh boy, look at this, licking your chops. If you're those Baltimore Ravens out there, you get Tampa Bay. That's not the most in-depth defense to try to, come against. You can just do whatever you want. But the way that you really like to attack the Tampa Bay defense, Pete, is through the air. And that's not something that the Baltimore Ravens are going to do.
Right.
So you're going to keep them in the game, Tampa Bay, from a perspective, de facto, just because you want to run the football, which is fine. You can impose your will, move the football up and down the field. But where you cover those big numbers, like beating by 10 or 14 points, is you get those quick strikes, right? 3 plays, 61 yards based on a 41-yard touchdown pass. And you're not going to get that. So in this football game, if I'm going to get more than a touchdown here, I'm going to lean on Jameis Winston and that Tampa Bay crew to try to keep it close here. Because, again, I like the way what the Ravens are doing, Pete, but their offense isn't advantageous to blow you. Now, they can blow you out, but it just is not advantageous to do that.
Yeah, and again, the game against the Saints, it was kind of, Tampa Bay. The Saints needed special teams to win that game, which is kind of uncharacteristic for them. And I guess the big question here, though, is Baltimore does have the stellar defense, right? Yardage and points and everything. How do you think Jameis Winston is likely to be able to produce against this admittedly elite defense for Baltimore?
Yeah, I think he's going to be okay. I think he's going to be okay. Not anything spectacular. Do I think he's going to throw for over 300 yards versus this Baltimore Ravens defense? No, because I don't think he's going to get that many shots. I think Baltimore's going to chew up a lot of clock on offense, which says, can Tampa just keep them out of the end zone, limit them to, a Tucker field goal, which as long as you get over the 50-yard line seems to be good at this point. You're going to get a little bit of rainy, windy conditions down there. I think it's going to be a lower scoring game than what you would anticipate from a Tampa Bay game. And you brought up a good point, too, Pete, last week. That's a double-digit lead for Tampa Bay in the second half versus the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah.
The New Orleans Saints, pretty good football team, so I think they can hang around here. I'd take Tampa Bay getting more than a touchdown. Yes.
See, now tell me what you're thinking. Tell me what you think about what I'm thinking about right now. Donnie Rightside, the key to one of the keys to success in life is thinking outside the box here. Tampa Bay 30th in the league in scoring defense, right? They allow almost 30 points a game. I'm thinking maybe the Baltimore team total under for all the reasons that you stated. Not necessarily because Tampa Bay is going to, have a better defensive effort than we expect from them, but because of the game plan that Baltimore is probably going to employ. What about the Baltimore team total under around 27?
Yeah, no, I like it. I like it, Pete, because I can see this game coming to 24-17 seems like a perfect score for me in this game because, again, we got back to the basics, a little bit of raininess in the forecast. Tampa Bay should be able to move the football. Tampa Bay is not just going to get 3 and outed, so those possessions don't change over. And Baltimore is going to want to run the football. It's what they do. And as long as Tampa Bay can limit that, I agree. Keep it under the 28 total. Yes.
Let's see what the comments are. Let's see. Julio Jones says Jameis has gone 3 games in a row without an interception. That'll 100% end this week. Hal Abrams, either Ravens or nothing for me. And Troy V says Ravens run all game. Under is the play. Yeah. Under. Julio Jones says Baltimore wins by 10. A lot of people here. Wow. A lot of Ravens or nothing comments coming in. Drew Barron, Hal Abrams. A lot of Ravens or nothing comments. What do you think?
No, and look, it's hard, right? Because you're saying, look, Tampa Bay, I've watched Baltimore. They're really good. They play really well at home. Tampa Bay not making the playoffs. I agree with all that sentiment there. If, Lamar Jackson was a little bit more fluid of a passer at this time, they probably could blow the doors off of Tampa Bay. But again, styles make fights, Pete. They're going to run the football. They're going to chew the clock.
All right, I am going to. This is a tough one. I will take the Baltimore team total under as an official play. I won't be able to quote the line right now, but when I tweet, I'll tweet out all the official plays that I make in this show, and I'll quote the line there. So I am definitely taking the Jets +7 -110, and I will take the Baltimore team total under here as well. Leaning Tampa Bay. And leaning under. All right, maybe we'll talk about this game a little bit more when Whale Capper joins us. Oakland at Cincinnati is the next game we're going to talk about. Oakland, very disrespected, justifiably on the lines, but, they have been covering recently as a big dog and not necessarily an auto-fade team. Carr has been playing very well, but maybe a little bit conservatively. Maybe he should be doing that, trying to avoid throwing interceptions, which is probably a smart move. I was thinking maybe an under here. We're going to see another relatively conservative game plan from Oakland. And Carr?
This is one of the tougher games for me this week because, you're dealing with Oakland coming off a win against the Pittsburgh Steelers, which I'm not even convinced that John Gruden, even though he was slapping high fives with everybody on the fans on the way out, was happy that they won because he seems to be about more of draft pick and draft pick position. But going on the road, is this a staunch opponent in Cincinnati who half the team's banged up going on IR? You have Driscoll at quarterback, no big weapons in the passing game anymore. So we're taking a look at an over-under of 46.
Yeah.
But you're also looking at 2 really poor defenses. But can these quarterbacks counterbalance that? Because if you have, Drew Brees and Tom Brady and say, well, boy, they're really going to shoot it out because there's no resistance. Can Driscoll open up the passing game enough? Can, Carr open up the passing game enough to both of these teams get into the 20s? I'm going to say one of these teams, Pete, is going to have a bad offensive outing. And I think it's actually more likely that the Cincinnati Bengals have the poorer outing than the Oakland Raiders in this one. Am I happy to say, hey, you know what? Let's get the Oakland Raiders on the road only getting 3 points because you're expecting them to not only compete but possibly win the football game. It's just hard for me to lay points right now with Cincinnati Bengals, Pete.
Right. So it sounds like you were leaning the same way I was leaning towards the under, at maybe 44.5. I wouldn't want to take a shot with that, but at anything over 45, it is 46 right now. Kind of tempting. Is that something you're thinking about, Donnie?
24-21 Raiders seems like a perfect score to me. You get the win, you get the cover, and you get the under at the same time.
All right, I'll go with a lot of picks here today. I will do it. I was leaning Oakland, I was leaning the under, and you're endorsing it. So I'll take Oakland, Cincinnati under 46. minus 110. Want to check the comment section very quickly to see if anyone is saying, no, Pete, don't do it, or if people are saying, yeah, Pete, I like that play. Let's see what we got here.
Go, Pete, go. Why don't you say go, Pete, go, Pete? We're going to be behind.
All I'm seeing is pass. Pass.
Yeah.
Alex Every.
That's what we have to cover all the games. Yeah, that's the way it is.
Alex Every, this is just an ugly game. Joe Ramirez, pass on the Raider game for me. A lot of passes here. Passes here. Drew Barron, perfect buy low, sell high for both teams. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to take the under on that one and make it an official play. Next game on the docket. This is so fun. Donnie right side. Detroit at Buffalo.
Let's do it.
All right. Detroit at Buffalo. I saw someone I respect quite a bit saying that he likes Detroit here. But the line has moved in Buffalo's favor, and I'm looking at this, and I'm thinking Buffalo has got to be the play, right? The Lions are banged up. Allen is just trying to play well. I'm thinking that the Lions. I know that mathematically they are still alive in the playoff hunt, but essentially they're out. Their chances are minuscule. Stafford limited in practice. I've been reading that. I'm just thinking this is a game, and Detroit's off a win and cover against Arizona. But I think that we put a line through that, an asterisk on it, whatever you want, because Arizona is just such a dumpster fire team, maybe the biggest dumpster fire team in the NFL right now. Throw out the Detroit win that they're coming off of last week. It's at home in Buffalo. Stafford may be a little bit banged up. Does Detroit care about this game? Maybe, because they are technically still in the playoff hunt. Mathematically, they do. I have to think Buffalo's a good play here. This is one of my favorite plays of the week, but I might be way off. What do you think, Donnie Rightside?
No, I like it. And again, maybe it's just me being stubborn because I watched the Bills. I bet the Bills last week, Pete, versus the New York Jets. I watched the film on Monday, not, in coach's film, but just watched the game over again. I'm shocked that the Buffalo Bills lost that game. They outplayed the Jets in every single category, except they couldn't stop a kick return, which kept on landing the New York Jets in really good field position. And it still came down at the end of the football game, Pete, to a 4th-and-1 stop on the goal line, which the Jets scored and the Bills couldn't stop them. But let's move it on to this week. Here's the one interesting point. I do agree with the line movement here because if you watched last week, which I don't know why anybody was watching, Detroit versus Arizona, it was an awful football game. It seemed like every play, Pete, the Detroit Lions were sending somebody off into the locker room or getting carted off. They're down starting tackles. They're down defensive linemen. They're down pass rushers in this game. And, the one guy that can keep you in the football game and win the football game is Matthew Stafford, who didn't look that good last week anyway. They had a pick six for a touchdown, which was the key indication in that win. But keep this one here because, again, showing up, Matthew Stafford, questionable. He's your franchise quarterback. Same thing like a guy like Carson Wentz is. How much do you really want to push and play outdoors in Buffalo on the hard surface there? And maybe his back's not up to par. This is one I want to wait one more day on, Pete, because if they sign, their practice squad quarterback or elevate somebody up that shows Matthew Stafford is not playing, you might get that automatic bonus. But we can't do that now, Pete. We're on a live show on Friday. I agree. The Buffalo Bills should win this football game and win it by 3 or more to cover that line versus the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, I'll make this one an official play as well. Buffalo -2, -110. We do have some interesting comments coming in. Odar Lira is leaning Lions, but Kang Capper says Buffalo is a lock. And then there's more pass on this game. Pass on this game comments here. Brendan W says this game sucks. Sucks pass. Troy V says Buffalo all day. And then let me see. Hold on. Oh, Abe Carr says Buffalo is going to crush them. But Julio Jones, big injury on the Bills D. If Kerryon Johnson plays, give me the dog in the Lions. What do you think on that, Con? What do you think?
Yeah, Kerryon Johnson is out. Matt Milano is a really big injury. He gets hurt at the under 2-minute warning in last football game versus the Jets. That's a big one. But also, Pete, what me and Jimmy have been having a lot of fun with on the season?
What's that?
Every time they keep on hanging a 30s number in the Buffalo Bills game, we auto bet the over, and we're having great success. And here we are again, Pete, at 39, 39.5, depending where. Actually opened up at 38. So at least people are at least betting those higher at this point. Games in the 30s in the NFL, we were just taking flyers and betting the overs and living the lap of luxury, Pete.
Very nice. Yeah, Mikey T says been betting on the Bills over every week. They always seem to go over 40 every week. I'm just concerned about Detroit here. I think Detroit might show up and put up less than 10 points. I'm thinking that this might be a despite the injury for on defense for Buffalo, I'm thinking this might be a spot to think about the team total under for Detroit. What do you think about that?
It's interesting because it's hard for me to do it because I've seen it so many times. But you're right. Usually it's one team that's not really participating. Like the Jets in the Buffalo Bills game a couple weeks back where Matt Barkley played. What did they put? They put up like 41 points but only gave up 10 points in that one. And then you had that role reversal a couple weeks back where the Chicago Bears went in and put up like 40 points but the Bills didn't do much. So you might be on to something. Maybe we get a Bills game, Pete, where the Bills get into the 30s.
Right.
And maybe a 10 spot. And there you go. You got your over again. Yeah, you're on.
Exactly. And Dan Kelly talking about how here's a comment from Dan Kelly. When your season is in the shitter, I'm just reading what he wrote, right? It's not if YouTube doesn't censor it, I'm not going to censor it. When your season is in the shitter, those hangnails will knock you out of a game. And I mean, it just feels like at this point in the season, a road game on the road. I don't know if Detroit's going to come in here, especially if they get down early, and if they're going to come in here and give it their all. Yeah, I could see. I'm leaning Buffalo team total over and Detroit team total under. And
what is the Buffalo team total, Pete? What do you have that at? What number?
The Buffalo team total. Well, I don't have the team totals in front of me, but I can do some quick math and do it. So the total on the game is about 39.5, and the spread has actually gotten bet up to 2.5. So that would be 21. If you shop around, you can probably get 20.5.
Yep. Yeah, come on. We're getting into the 20s, Pete.
You
I
think
like
so?
the Buffalo team total over. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean,
absolutely.
Detroit's defense is not good. You think Allen can lead this team into the 20s?
He's good. You know what you like about it too, Pete? Because we all talk about like the weapons, and we don't know if we're going to get LaShawn McCoy. I'm not expecting much out of LaShawn McCoy after leaving with a hamstring injury. But the thing I like about Josh Allen, Pete, if it's not there through the air, he can run for 100 yards himself in this game, which he's done. Yes.
Everyone's talking about Lamar Jackson being like this awesome scrambler. Allen has proven it more than Jackson has so far this year.
Yes.
Right? Definitely.
Absolutely. And Sean McKay in there says 20.5. I like that. Bills team total. They're getting 21 points in this game or more. I like that. Good stuff.
Definitely, bro. All right. And Drew Barron says the Bills just cannot cover as faves. He still thinks they're going to win, though. He predicts 17-16 Bills. Drew Barron's predicting an outright win by the Bills, but not a cover of the 2-point spread. I'm going to take the Buffalo Bills -2, -110, and I am also going to take Buffalo team total over. How's the weather? What's the weather expected this week, Donnie? Do you know offhand?
Not too bad, Pete. I think we're looking at high 30s. Let me see. I get 36 degrees, light winds. Perfect. That's a Bahamas day up there in Buffalo. Yes, I agree.
Fine. All right, I'm going to take Buffalo -2, -110. I'm also going to take a shot with Buffalo team total over, and I'm tempted to take a shot with Detroit team total under as well. We're having fun here. Let's move on to the next game, Dallas against Indiana. This is a little bit of a tough situation. By the way, Donnie writes that. I don't know if you remember, we were all making our predictions and our season win totals and our futures and everything. I said I like the over 6.5 season win totals for the Indianapolis Colts in the beginning of the year. Got a lot of flack for that. Got a lot of flack for that, Donnie Rightside.
You're very sharp, Pete. You are very sharp at that.
No, I'm not very sharp, but that call was a good one. And my basic reasoning was just that if Luck was healthy, their roster was better than the last time. The roster, with all its deficiencies, was better than last time. Luck was healthy for a full season, and they won a lot of games that year. So I was thinking if Luck's healthy this year, the roster's good enough to get them to 7 wins, and that, of course, has happened. Dallas, of course, rolling ATS, though. They're banged up. Is Elliott banged up? I think Elliott's going to be okay. Obviously, Cooper has transformed this offense, but I'm thinking, I don't know, man. Colts is my lean as of right now, -3. I don't really feel comfortable betting against Dallas, but I'm definitely leaning Colts. What do you think, Donnie?
Yeah, you know what? I like this game a lot, Pete. And on Wednesday, the roundtable, the Colts were 2.5. I gave out the Colts as 2.5 as my play of the week because a lot of stuff is filtering into this game, which you would like from a betting perspective if you're looking to lean towards Indianapolis. The one thing I like about the NFL, Pete, is Dallas Cowboys. They're going to be in the playoffs. They're going to win the NFC East, and I think they know that. They're going to treat this game as such. Are they just going to roll their helmets out and say, "Hey, it doesn't matter if we get beat 46-0. Let's just get rested and ready and go home"? No, it's the NFL. They're going to be prepared. They're going to try to win this football game. But the Dallas Cowboys were home for 3 straight football games. So this will be their first road game in more than a month. Indianapolis Colts, in an absolute must-win situation, got the job done versus the Houston Texans last week. They're in the same spot again this week. Last week, an overtime game against your division rival to throw the final haymaker versus them. But you had to use a lot up. And what I mean by that, Zeke Elliott, Pete, 40 touches in that game and got hurt with a shoulder injury. You're not going to give him the ball 40 times again. Zach Martin, the best guard in football, to me, he's already ruled out of the football game as of today. So when you're going into this game, you have the NFC East in your back pocket. Winning would be nice here, but you know what's not going to be nice, Pete? If the Indianapolis Colts take a loss in this game, they're home for the holidays.
Right.
Indianapolis has everything to play for, Pete, for me. It's Indy or nobody here.
Indy or nobody. And let me ask you this. I don't know if you know about this, Donnie Rightside, but I've coined a lot of betting terms over the years, and my newest one is PASAFE. Have you heard that one?
No, I haven't. Explain it to me. Give me the breakdown.
Here's a perfect example
of
maybe making
Pete, what's the origin? What's the origin of the word? Let's get really in depth on this.
It's a combination of pussy and safe. And it's when you take a bigger favorite line, quote unquote, just to be safe. But what's really going on is you're just being a pussy, and you don't have the balls because you're not actually getting any better, EV taking the big favorite line. You're just doing it because you don't have real confidence in your handicapping of the line at -110. So you're like, all right, just to be safe, I'm going to take it -150 because it makes me feel more comfortable. But when you do the math, it turns out that you might be screwing yourself a little bit, or probably not giving yourself or not giving yourself any benefit at all. I was definitely going to take Indianapolis here -3, -110, but thinking about making a little bit of a safe move and just taking them on the money line -154.
They're going to win.
What?
Yeah. They're going to win. Indianapolis. The only thing that's a little bit of a drawback here, Pete, is I know they're trying to play it close. T.Y. Hilton has been amazing this year, and they're trying to rest him up as much as possible, but he didn't practice all week, and it's that questionable tag where now they're talking about, well, we'll run him around pregame. He has to play in this football game. Otherwise, this is going to be an absolute slugfest where maybe the 3 comes into play. If we get the T.Y. Hilton, Pete, over the last 5 to 6 weeks out there with Andrew Luck, they'll win this game by 7 points and cover easily. I need T.Y. Hilton in this game. But again, we're talking about Friday. I'm anticipating playing. I'm taking the Colts -3 as well here today.
Okay, the Colts -3. So you would rather have the Colts -3 than on the money line at -150, -154.
Yeah, I always say to myself, if I'm awful in this cap, they're probably going to lose the game. So I'll just take the -3 with the light juice and live with it if it ends up with being a push.
Right, that's the smart way of going about things. But when you have pussy problems. And by that I don't mean female problems. I'm talking about courage and problems. All right, I'm going to take Indianapolis Colts as well. I'm going to take them Indy -3, -110. That's the way I was leaning. I don't like the injuries for Dallas. And
how about the over/under in that game, Pete? What do you like? 40. Look, 47.5 for Indianapolis doesn't seem like much. But the way the Dallas Cowboys play, they have a good defense. I don't know if it's just going to be home run shot after home run shot in this football game. I think 47.5 a little bit high for me here, Pete. What about you?
No, I would be leaning under as well, and especially at this point in the season, the Colts aren't looking to prove anything to anyone, not prove anything.
No style points, right?
They're just looking to get a win and get out, right?
Correct. I agree with you there. And same thing with the Dallas Cowboys. If I'm not going to get Zeke Elliott at full tilt with 40 carries, that means he might get 25 touches, which means you're leaving 15 touches that would be really good out on the ball field. And let's keep in mind also, Pete, this isn't the walking wounded for the Indianapolis Colts in the secondary where anybody can run straight by the Philadelphia Eagles. It's not going to be that easy for Amari Cooper to just have like 4 catches for 200 yards and 2 scores. They're going to have to work for it in this game. Both of these teams not really super fast on offense. I like it under 47.
Oh, now there's Dan Kelly's claiming he invented that word. I could probably find the video where I came up with it. I assume Dan Kelly is
maybe he got it in the United States though, Pete. You have international waters out there, so you get it.
No,
I
definitely remember when I'll talk to Dan Kelly off camera because I don't want him thinking that. I definitely remember when it's great minds think alike. You know what I mean? So many scientific advancements and get discovered at the same time all over the world, and maybe that happened with Pasafe, but we'll see. All right, I'm thinking about the under, and I'm thinking about maybe the Dallas team total under as well. What do you think about the Dallas team total under?
Yeah, no, look, you're going to be down because, again, your offensive line is going to be weak in this game. Let's also not forget, Pete, Tyron Smith going through a lot. Neck stingers. He's wearing knee braces on his elbows. He's having, issues with health. Maybe if the first quarter doesn't go so well, say, hey, big man, take the rest of the day off. We'll rest you up for next week when we clinch the division or for sure versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. There's a lot of dinged up football players on the Dallas Cowboys for this game this week. And that could play into it as well. I would look under with Dallas in this game. If I'm going under for the game, I'm going under Dallas team total.
Especially after the OT win. If they get down, they're just going to be like, all right, fine, take the game. Take it, Colts. You got the game. All right, I'm gonna add that one. I'm adding on picks like a maniac here, like a demon. Dallas team total under. I will add that one on, and I will line chop after the show and tweet it out. I'm not going to quote a line right now. Now let's talk about the Giants. Now a lot of the games that we've talked about today so far, people have said this is just a pass game, better games to find value with. This one. Yep. This one has me confounded. Congratulations and shout out to you. Shout out to Jimmy the Bag, who was all over the Giants last week. A lot of people were telling him it was a trap, a sucker play, this and that. Great pick by him. Great call, Jimmy the Bag. Giants now 4-1 ATS since the bye. Tennessee have a nice win, but they had been losing ATS before that. Titans have extra rest. This is a very tough one. I guess if you gave me a free play right now before I read the comment section, before I hear what you have to say about it, Donnie Right Side, sure, I'd throw it on Tennessee, probably on the money line. I want to hear what you have to say about this one, though.
Yeah, this is an interesting one because earlier in the week when you saw the line come out, and the one thing I do like about the New York Giants this year, Pete, is they're not going to make the playoffs, but they're playing really hard. They're not that talented on defense. Eli Manning, as long as he's not imploding on himself, their offensive line has gotten better as the year's gone on, and the wide receivers have played decent football. Evan Ingram back in the fold now, a nice little weapon at tight end, and Saquon Barkley has been an absolute monster. So when I look at this football game early in the week, and then I see Odell Beckham Jr. was out, which last week he was out as well, and I start thinking to myself, start creating concoctions in my brain saying, is this not an actual good thing for the New York Giants offense that Odell Beckham is out? You say, Don, that's ludicrous. That's absolutely crazy. One of the best wide receivers in football. Why would it help? Well, I just know when that offense is built, Eli Manning is going to throw 3 or 4 questionable balls in Odell Beckham's direction, which could lead to a big play, but could lead to a big play interception the other way. Now I'm thinking, Pete, they lean on Saquon Barkley. They give him the ball 25, 30 touches this game, really slow it down. And even though that line has completely swung the opposite direction to the Tennessee Titans, I still like the Giants here, Pete. Am I crazy?
No, hold on. I'm sorry. I'm reading in the comment section. There's debate on the origin of the term "puss safe," and it's possible that I said it and then Dan Kelly repeated it. People are talking about let's find the show where it originated. David Stewart says, Dan, they don't archive old videos. Shitty. What are you talking about? All the archive videos are all the videos.
Pete, take them in the film room back there. Yes,
yeah.
The
problem is how many interns does it take to dig through 2 hours of footage for going back a year and a half? Although I'm sure we'd only have to go back, maybe 6 or 8 months to find the actual first mention of that. We could do it. It could be done. But David Stewart, the old videos for the Low Shack and the Baggy Show are definitely there on the Sportsbook Review video site at YouTube. All right, so let me see. Hold on. Let me see. Hold on 1 second. The Giants, yes. There are people who are liking the Giants here. Let me just see. Big Dad says, get your head in the game, Pete. Yes. All right. My head is in the game. Nick O loves the Giants here. Titans allowed 120 yards rushing. Can you say Barkley? Yes. So maybe the answer is if you like the Giants because of that factor, take a Barkley rushing prop over instead of maybe the Giants. And that would not be considered a safe play. That would be considered just a smart thing to do, right? Isolating your value, switching it over from a play on the Giants to just a prop play on the Barkley over rushing yards prop. What do you think about that?
No, I agree with it, Pete. And you know what I even like even more? Forget about the rushing prop. Is there just a total yards prop? Because without Odell Beckham,
right,
they're going to be throwing that ball into a flat a lot. You could see easily, Pete, 6-7 catches out of Saquon Barkley for another 50, 60 yards. I actually like the total yards prop for Saquon Barkley even better.
Great breakdown, Donnie Rightside. How important are the injuries for the Titans, right? Smith and Conklin both out for the year now.
Yep. Literally, I mean, look, this isn't a big play offense. We saw last week where, the Jacksonville Jaguars quit. Let's just say the Jaguars still had something to play for and just didn't let Derrick Henry go 99 yards a clip and say, you know what, we're matadoring this defense. The Giants aren't doing that. The Giants have won 4 out of 5 games. The only game they lost on the road to Philadelphia up 19-3 where they just blew that game. They could be on a 5-game win streak here coming into this game. I like the Giants. And now they're even getting points, even more of a bonus. +1 now, most of the outlets out there. I still like the New York Giants in this one. Call me crazy, but hey, just the way I feel about this one.
I'm not thinking about calling you crazy, Donnie. I am thinking about maybe accusing you very slightly of buying high on the Giants instead of buying low.
No, you're correct about that. There could be, because you try to take some things in that, like the Eagles really aren't a good football team and they barely won that game. Tampa Bay, not really good football team. San Francisco, not really good football team. And let's not forget the Chicago Bears coming off a big win going on the road. A big win versus Detroit on Thanksgiving Day, then going on the road and still having your backup quarterback who was horrific in that ball game to keep you in. And then the Washington Redskins who quit last week. So you are right about you are riding the crest right now.
Right.
But actually, I'm thinking about the same exact way, Pete, because you were getting the Giants at 2.5 earlier in the week. Now you're getting the Giants as a home dog. So maybe a little bit different here for us.
Yes, definitely. What do you make of the line movement?
I mean, look, anytime Odell Beckham goes out, you're probably going to have a little bit of a shift. And the Tennessee Titans have a lot more to play than the New York Giants. Theoretically, I think Tennessee is the better team, but the Giants are just playing everybody close. It's a road game. And we could see Marcus Mariota struggling a little bit. It's not a high-flying offense. This game could go into the fourth quarter tied up. I'm going to lean on the Giants. They just have no quit in them this year. I like it.
Is Odell Beckham worth 3.5 points? He might be, but I'm just wondering. I'm just asking.
No, I don't think he's worth that many points, but I know that's such a sticker shock, to the people or the public saying, oh my goodness. Same thing last week, because I remember talking to Jimmy. I said, Jimmy, how did it feel like Saturday morning out of nowhere, Odell Beckham is not going to play, and you're loaded up to the hilt on the New York Giants? Didn't matter one bit in that football game, so we'll see.
You might be right here, Donnie Wright. You might have just made a very, very, very smart play. Ballsy smart. Ball smart. I just made up that term. There you go. Copyright Peter Loshak, 2018, December 14th. You're
going to be a rich man in a couple years with all these patents pending.
Yeah. Smalls. No, I don't know. Yeah, you might have made a very smart and ballsy call there, fading this line movement with Beckham out, liking the Giants here at +1. That would be an official pick for you, right, Donnie?
That's an official pick. I like the Giants. Now that we're struggling a little bit, Pete, when it's -2, say, am I going to get too sharp on this one? But even though they saw the line reverse, I like it even more now. Give me the Giants. Give me the Giants outright, Pete.
Ball smart. Copyright. Peter Loshak, December 14th, 2018. That's not a very good term, but I got it. I own it. Whether it's good or not, it's mine. All right, Miami, Minnesota. This is another tough game, right? Man, is this a tough game. Miami's covered 3 in a row since their bye. I was all over Miami on the first game after their bye against the Colts, actually. Not for an outright win, but for a cover. And I was right about that one. Minnesota, of course, 1-3 ATS since the bye. We talked about the Minnesota game last week, and Jimmy the Bag and I were both on Seattle. Of course, Minnesota got dominated in that game. Now Minnesota's on a short week. The spot probably favors Minnesota, but 7.5, I don't know about that, bro. And, of course, Minnesota, now they have an offensive coordinator change. Will that be able to spark them? I don't know. Under might be the play. Maybe. What do you think, Donnie?
You know what? I actually like the Minnesota Vikings here, Pete. And even coming off, I know it was a tough game to watch. Their offense really didn't move the football, but that's a tough one to go into a buzzsaw on Monday Night Football game and play the Seattle Seahawks in that type of environment. They lost. Were we surprised they lost? No. But sometimes I like to see getting value because you do get a little bit of a shock and say, wait a second, I saw the Miami Dolphins beat the New England Patriots. They're still playing decent. Now you're going to give me 7.5 at this point right now and say, I'll just lean on the Miami Dolphins. But you have Tannehill a little bit banged up. You had that big emotional win last week. Now you're going on the road. And also you're looking into an environment where, do the Miami Dolphins need to win this game? Absolutely. Do I think the Miami Dolphins really think they can make the playoffs at this point? That's a little bit questionable, but I think Minnesota's going to be in the playoffs regardless because they're going to be able to handle business against teams like the Dolphins. Let's not look, the Detroit game that they played at home about a month ago had 10 sacks in that game, 24-9, really mauled the Detroit Lions. But then take a look at this when we talk about like buying low, selling high.
Yeah.
At the Chicago Bears. Did we expect them to win? No. I thought the right play was the Chicago Bears in that one. You played Green Bay at home. You played well in that football game. You missed a lot of kicks, but you still end up winning by 7 points. But then you go on the road to New England, and then you come home and then go on the road to Seattle. I didn't expect them to win either one of those football games. You fired the offensive coordinator. Now maybe they get back. This is the healthiest that Minnesota is going to be for the rest of the year now to get Trey Waynes back at cornerback. I think it's a great spot for the Vikings. Flex their muscles. I think they win by double digits here, Pete.
Man, you're pretty good at this shit, Donnie Rightside. Pretty good at this shit.
It's fun. It's fun to throw it up there.
You know what this just kind of reminds me of? It just reminds me of when I was auto-fading the Jaguars with Blake Bortles. Anytime they were more of a 7-point favorite, anytime they were a touchdown, they were 7.5 points or bigger as a favorite, even at home. Bortles was just such a liability, and I know it's I'm joining the join the crowd. Join the club, just everyone moaning and groaning about Kirk Cousins, but should you just fade any team that Kirk Cousins is quarterbacking when they're laying more than a touchdown?
I mean, there's something to that, but also you got to see where they're at. Like, are they going to be on the road? Is he going to get the help of being at home? Is the team going to be healthy? Because Thielen and Diggs have been banged up for most of the year. Now you're more likely to say, all right, now they're not really on the practice report. Because for the past couple of weeks, Pete, if you have that nice dagger like Stephon Diggs is on the outside where he can go deep and beat you, that hasn't been the case the past 2 to 3 weeks because he's barely even making it through practice. Is he getting his knee drained? Is it, swelling up in pregame? They should be as healthy as that. That's what I'm banking on this football game. Offensive line should be fine. Tight end is fine. Wide receivers are fine. And running back should be good in this game. And I don't think the Dolphins are very good, especially on defense. Now, if Howard is playing at cornerback, now you say, okay, Minkah Fitzpatrick and Howard, they can slow these guys down. You can air it out all over that Miami team. I think they'll do it this week and do it in a big way.
You think the offensive line will be okay for Minnesota? So they weren't last week, Donnie Rightside. One last week.
No, I think they'll be fine because also when you're looking from a defensive, it's not been the defense's problem. I mean, look at the last handful of games. I mean, outside of, the New England game on the road, which only gave up 24 points, they passed for 311 yards, 60 yards passing, 172 yards passing, 160 passing, and 143. And let's not forget, you're getting double trouble here with Tannehill. You're getting a shoulder injury and an ankle injury versus a nasty defensive front seven. So.
And here you go. Hal Abrams says, I love Miami team total under here. That might be the play. And where is it? Frank Rizzo says, give me the Vikings. It's going to be like the Green Bay game last week after the firing of the coach. And that's what I was thinking. I was thinking the spot favors the Vikings. But if you take the Vikings, you're laying 7.5 points with with Cousins. And that just makes me very, very, very scary. And very, very scared. And the first comment that I see is from Joey Kerr saying Cousins only bettable as a dog. Yes, that reminds me of so many quarterbacks like that in history. Jay Cutler, Romo, so many, and it feels that way with Kirk Cousins. Is Whale Capper with us right now? Oh, thank God. Oh,
There he
God.
is. There he is. Save the day. We couldn't make it any more than another 30 seconds. Thank God he's here.
Thank God you're here, Whale Capper, because we're getting into some games that are highly controversial here as far as the spread is concerned. Let's get your thoughts on Miami and Minnesota. Well, Whale Capper, welcome to the party. The spot seems to favor Minnesota. The question is just how big of a liability is Kirk Cousins? Should Minnesota be laying more than a touchdown with Kirk Cousins at quarterback? Hey, can we get a little audio? Little audio would have. Oh, hold on one second.
That was me. I had it muted.
There we go.
Excellent.
There we go.
There you go. There you go. There you go.
Yeah. That was on me. I don't think Kirk Cousins is a liability on this one. He's shown an ability to hang some points on some bad teams, right? I mean, you don't want to back Kirk Cousins as a favorite. Sure, that's fine advice. You don't want to back Kirk Cousins against teams with a winning percentage that is over 500. That's been proven out this season, last couple seasons really. But this is a team that he should be able to move the ball on with ease. The Miami Dolphins, especially if Xavier Howard is out for the Dolphins, I don't see this defense doing much in terms of limiting the Vikings especially in the passing game. The question I think is more important and more concerning if you're a Vikings fan or a Vikings backer long term is why they moved on from DeFilippo. There's clear evidence in the kind of the post, as the dust is settling, it's pretty obvious that DeFilippo had sort of the Philadelphia approach in mind in terms of running a modern offense and doing things in a way that increases your likelihood of winning. Zimmer seems like he wants to do things the old-fashioned way. He wants to establish the run, even though he has an offensive line that can't run block. He has a running back that is like the prototype boom or bust running back. Like he's either getting 1 yard or 40, and so you get in a game against a good team that's limiting to 1 yards, then you're not going to look good on offense at all. And it's amazing that a team that has a quarterback that can throw down the field in Cousins and has wide receivers that are among the best duo in the league, if not the best duo in the league. And they have an offense that could not get off the ground this year. And I think a lot of that was the internal kind of, push-pull in terms of their identity. And I don't like who won that battle. I don't like what Zimmer wants to do at all. The way it's played out, it makes it seem pretty likely that, Zimmer, even if they make the playoffs, if they're one and done in the playoffs, that he's probably, the surprise firing this year after the season's over.
Yeah, great comments, Whale Capper, and that'll bring me to another way I was thinking about this game, which is the Miami team total under. I want to get to a few comments here. First of all, when we were talking about Odell Beckham, when I was asking if Odell Beckham was worth 3.5 points, I meant that rhetorically. Obviously, we know that that no player aside from a quarterback is worth more than 1 point. I was just asking it rhetorically, and I forgot who made that comment. But then here, I think it was. Let me see. Where's the comment from? I just want to give credit to the person who made this comment, suggesting that Miami team total under would be a great play. I was thinking that way as well. I can't find the comment here. Oh, there you go. Hal Abrams. That's the guy, Hal Abrams. That's the guy who said, Pete, please, Beckham isn't worth more than 1 point. Yes, I was asking that rhetorically. Hal Abrams also likes the Miami team total under here. He says Miami is not going to score, and that's what I was thinking as well when I looked at this game, and I said the spot makes me like Minnesota, but I don't want to lay 7.5 with Cousins, so maybe a better bet would just be to take a team total under with Miami. That was the second way I was thinking. What do you think about that, Whale Capper?
Love that angle. The only way that doesn't come through is if the running first approach that Minnesota seems compelled to take on explodes. If that puts them in it could put them in third and long situations, and then you have a bad offensive line trying to protect for Kirk Cousins, and you got Cameron Wake ripping around the outside, creating a strip sack and taking back, getting defensive points. Really, if the Miami defense creates points in this game, that's the only way that they go over their team total, the way I see it.
Absolutely, which is entirely possible, which is why there are no locks in a sport like NFL, but there can be nice edges, and I'm going to add that one, another official play for me, Miami team total under. Again, this is just a play where I want to bet against Minnesota, but I don't want to lay the points, so I'll take the Miami team total under. Donnie Rightside, any final words on Miami, Minnesota, or any picks that you want to give on this game officially before we move on?
Yeah, no, I like it. And even if it's 7.5, I have the Vikings by double digits in this game. And I know Whale Capper will appreciate this. DeFilippo gets fired. You give, from all accounts throughout the NFL, is everybody loves DeFilippo, but somehow Zimmer doesn't like him. I can just picture it right here. We're going to throw on first down and incompletion in 2nd and 10. Mike Zimmer's the type of head coach is like, well, let's pick up 3 yards by running it on 2nd and 10 to get the 3rd and 7. That approach always makes me laugh. Whenever we're in the living room, my father or anybody, when a team runs it on 2nd and 10, I just sort of throw my hands up and get a good little snicker. But that's what Zimmer wants. Let's try to stay ahead of the sticks or keep it close here. Come on, coach. You throw to win the football game, man.
Absolutely. All right, so the next game we're going to talk about, this is a play that, I thought, based on my own personal handicapping, my own analysis, I thought I was liking a lot. We'll see if you guys agree. Arizona against Atlanta. Arizona's just a bad team. They're such a bad team that I actually am putting a line through Detroit's big win over them last week because I just think Arizona is such a bad team. They're just looking at the remainder of the season as a chance to to get Josh Rosen some development. Atlanta, 5 straight up and ATS losses. Now they're a double-digit home favorite, although there are some 9.5s available. Got to be thinking Atlanta minus the points is the play here. Whale Capper, what do you think?
I woke up earlier this week and I was like, oh yeah, no, Atlanta easily here. This is the look on this game. Arizona, clearly the worst team in the NFL right now. I think you can get worse performances out of the likes of the Raiders on any given Sunday. But I think overall from a talent and and scheme standpoint, Arizona's number 32. That said, and this is Atlanta's home finale. Also worth pointing that out. They've had a completely lost season. You got to think that, they want to put some sort of exclamation point on, some game just to give their fans something before, their season is a wrap and they got to watch some other team win a Super Bowl in Atlanta. So this is a good spot to look for Atlanta to really open things up offensively and really try to, just do something outstanding. The only problem is that there's a whiff of quit on Dan Quinn, and in particular, Steve Sarkisian, in the Falcons locker room. I have questions about Dan Quinn's ability long-term to be a winning head football coach in today's NFL. I don't know why you really want a defensive-minded head coach in the first place, but, maybe there's some reason. But you look at the talent on the field on offense for Atlanta, and you look at what they've done this season, and it is just an out of this world underachievement. Honestly, you flip the rosters of Atlanta and Kansas City right now. Is Kansas City any worse? Right? I mean, you're getting unbelievably underachieving performance out of this squad. So you've got to move on from Sarkisian. There's a chance that the Falcons, and you heard Julio Jones was questionable with an illness. That has a little, I'm not sure I want to play, and so on one hand I can get talked into a motivational angle, like they want to do something good for their fans. This is their last home game. They're going to show out for the Atlanta fans. But on the other hand, if they continue to stink, then they are for sure going to get a change in the locker room, and maybe that's what the players want.
Wow. All right. So an interesting breakdown. So, but yeah, basically you're saying that that the spot clearly favors Atlanta, but that the dysfunction on the team and on the offense is maybe trumps all. Donnie Rightside, you agree with that?
Yeah, I've got a lot of spot burn this year on the Atlanta Falcons where I'm just waiting for them to wake up and, they're just folding in the second half of games. And you're right. Mind-boggling is the right word for this offense, because as long as Matt Ryan has 3 seconds or 2.5 seconds in the pocket, there should be guys wide open all over the field. They can't run the football. They're getting pushed in the back of the backfield. But the one thing you like about it last week, if you watched the Green Bay Packers game, did they really compete hard in that game? Say what you want. The one thing I did like is they actually got a lot of pressure last week on Aaron Rodgers, where if you're going to get a little bit of pressure on Josh Rosen on the road, I mean, are we just going to say, well, we're just going to give David Johnson the ball 55 times in this game and look to get out of here? I don't know. You're asking to cover 10. No, you can't cover 10 points with the Atlanta Falcons. Well, you can if the other team only gets 7 points, because that means you need 17 or 20 to cover. It's interesting when you see that high line and say there's no way Atlanta should be favored. But then again, you say to yourself, if Atlanta gets to 24 points, they're going to cover this line, and I think they can.
So you think that that Arizona's not going to put anything up here offensively? Because I was looking at this game and I was thinking maybe, a fluky touchdown here, a fluky score here, and a big offensive game for Atlanta might be a safer way to play this. Take shots with the Atlanta team total over, which would be about 27 right now, which I know has been a challenge for them to eclipse so far, despite what they have on the field. And then Arizona, couple of touchdown here, a touchdown there, and all of a sudden you got 45 points. You think that Arizona is going to be held to under 2 touchdowns here, Donnie?
Yes, I do. I mean, if you're setting a team total, that was always the joke. Like me and Jimmy would have, or Jeff, Big Man on Campus would have, is like always the number on Arizona is like 14.5. And you say to yourself, like, they struggle even getting first downs and getting out of their own way. I mean, if you like, Detroit stinks, and they were in but it seems to get worse every week. Like, they played tough against Kansas City, but you have to score points in the NFL to win football games. And 10 points doesn't seem so bad if the other team can only get to a maximum of 14 points.
Yeah, but I mean, they've really only been held to single digits one time in their last game. Before that, they were able to put up a score here or a score there, not reliably. Whalecapper, what do you think? In light of the Falcons, the names they have on offense, they have a porous defense. They don't even have a running game, so you got to figure they're going to pass it a lot. 44 is a very low total in the NFL in 2018, right?
It's an especially low total for a Falcons game.
Right.
I think every other game has been like at or above 50. So it could be easy pickings there. The Falcons defense certainly didn't get better all of a sudden. Even in, what was the game last week in cold weather in Lambeau? That was a nice look on the over. It was about 50.5, and both teams left touchdowns on the field. Atlanta, like, they only ended up with 21, and that was 20, and that was thanks to that last second touchdown that they scored.
Fourth down. Fourth down. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And they should have had 30 points in that game. They left a ton of they missing field goals and fumbling. They somehow
amazing.
Yeah, and I've lost count of the number of times that the Falcons have been on the doorstep and failed to score touchdowns this year, or in field goal territory, and Ryan takes just a god awful sack to move them out or make the field goal more difficult, and then the guy janks it. So it's really impossible to really figure out what is going on with this iteration of the Falcons team. But this is probably your last shot to get them, to back them. This is their home finale. If you're going to get an honest effort out of these clowns, it's going to be this weekend. All
right. Well, Drew Barron says 31-17 type game. Is this going to be a pass for you, Whalecapper?
Yeah, I too much uncertainty with what you're getting on both sides of this one. This was an easy skip.
Dave L.A. says Cardinals offense will make Falcons defense look amazing. I was leaning over on this one. Donnie, right side pass for you?
It's going to be a pass. Look, like I said before, Atlanta, I need goal bond when I start breaking down Atlanta football games, because I can't seem to get it right. And they have a lead, they don't have a lead. It's one of those, like, you know what, Donnie, pass on this one. We'll see what happens. And then the Atlanta Falcons win like 34-7, and I just pound my head on my desk.
I hear you. All right, so let's move on to Chicago and Green Bay. Right, the Packers, of course, got the win last week. A lot of people were because of the interim coaching change. People were on that one. Congratulations to everyone who was. And the Bears, of course, great defensively, covered 6 out of 7. Trubisky, clearly a big liability here. Again, it's just we see this all the time in the NFL, a team that has a ton of positives everywhere you look, but a big liability at quarterback. I guess let's start with you, Whalecapper, again. How much of a liability is Trubisky?
He is a liability, I think, in terms of a long playoff run. I think if you get if you get average performance of Trubisky from here till the end of their season, then the Bears are alive for an NFC title, in my opinion. Their defense is playing out of this world. Their skill players are all stepping up and improving. Trubisky, or at least Nagy and the offensive coordinator there, I forget his name. They've figured out how to appropriately balance touches for Tariq Cohen and Jordan Howard, which is impressive, and that's really kind of helped mask some of the deficiencies from the quarterback position that they've had over the last several weeks, not just with Trubisky, but when they had Daniels in there as well. I think my handicap on this one is pretty straightforward. I'm going to listen to whatever Donnie has to say. Because I've gone up against him on Bears picks, 3 or 4 weeks this season, and I think I've been on the losing side every time. So I'm going to cede the floor to the man who knows what's up with the Bears.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what I'm seeing here, Donnie, right side. I actually did have the under in the Bears-Rams game last week as one of my.
Tasty.
What?
Tasty.
Yes.
Good job. That's a yes.
Yes.
It was a great play.
But If I had to make a bet on how bad Trubisky's mechanics would have looked, we're going to look last week, I would have lost that bet because he looked bad last week. The mechanics are just, he just looks discombobulated. I'm thinking maybe the under here. What do you think, Donnie?
Yeah, I actually think the under is not a really bad play in this one because one thing you're going to have is Green Bay is going to get first downs. And the question is, can they just go drive for drive against that nasty Chicago Bears defense? Because when you're looking at, taking an under, it's not a bad thing if you have a really good quarterback on one side because you need them to start on their own 25 and you need them to get the midfield, which chews up 4 to 5 minutes. And then you need the punt at like the 45-yard line and pin the other team back, which, Chicago Bears aren't exactly just going to go up and down the field. They had one or two of those games I remember back in early in the season with Tampa Bay. Early in the week, I loved the Chicago Bears in the spot. Even though it was at 6, I said, you know what? They're really going to bury Aaron Rodgers under an avalanche.
Wow.
And then I go back and look last week at the Atlanta. And you can't just take like one game or 2 game swing and say this can't happen or that can't happen because what the public sees is, wait a second, they just destroyed the Rams. 6 points. What are they going to do to the Green Bay Packers? But the Packers are a little bit different story here. They're used to the cold weather. They know the Chicago Bears. They've played them before. They know what the deal is going to be. The one issue I have is you're getting Lane Taylor back at guard, which is really big for the Green Bay Packers to try to deal with that interior defensive line for the Chicago Bears. So to make a long story short in this one, I actually think the Green Bay Packers are going to be in this football game. I don't know if they're going to be able to win this game, but this is going to be close because Will Capper brings up a good point here. It depends on which offensive game plan you get from Mitchell Trubisky. Is it the one where they let him throw 13 for 17? He just completes those dump-offs, doesn't turn the football over, and you play field position because that Chicago Bears team will win and cover versus the Green Bay Packers. But how many times in the game do you get that Mitchell Trubisky throw where it's like, bro, what are you doing? The guy's wide open. He just airmailed like 2 or 3 of those. That will kill you in this type of environment. +6, 5.5. I think Green Bay's live in this game, not to win it, but to keep it really close at the end. I think they get the cover here.
Yeah, I think this is a pretty this is a pretty glaring quarterback discrepancy here, an edge for the Packers. I don't care what, there's no way that you can cut this. You can slice this without putting a huge quarterback advantage here on the Packers. On the other hand, Troy V says Packers are horrible, Bears easy. Joey Kerr says I got the Packers. Adam Olin, Trubisky will pull a Cutler and lose the game for them. Ray Williams, Bears have a letdown against the Rams. I was thinking under. I was thinking Packers. I was thinking Bears team total under. What's your take on Bears team total under, Donnie Rightside?
I think the game's going to be lower scoring, so I would lean towards the under. Even when you look at all the games, like win or lose with the Green Bay Packers, 34-20 win, 20-17 loss, 24-17 loss, 27-24 loss, pounded Miami, lost to the New England Patriots. I just think they play a close game in this environment, and I think it's going to be lower scoring because in a Bears football game, their objective is not to score 31 points in a game. It's let's just beat you up with our defense and we'll be on the end of the score. I like the under, so if I'm going to go under in the game, I'll go team total under on both sides here.
Right. Wow, a lot of disagreement here, and the big factor here that seems to be weighing heavily on people's minds is that the Packers are a terrible team. That's the factor. Here you go, Ken Capper. How can you take the Packers? Because they beat the Falcons. They are a terrible team. Let me see. The other comment here, Troy V. Packers are horrible. Bears easy. Whale Capper, are the Packers that bad?
No, they're not that bad.
Oh.
No. They
Not
played
horrible.
particularly. No. Okay. Let's reframe what happened to the Packers this season. They did not have a particularly good defense coming into the year. We knew that.
Yeah.
They got some young players. They're going to be inconsistent. We knew that. They had a head coach that is not, he was not, up to the challenge of competing in the 2018 iteration of the NFL. Maybe he was fine back in the 2000s. He's not, he doesn't have the skill set to put together a game plan to win in today's NFL. And maybe most importantly, they had completely reshuffled the receiving core for Aaron Rodgers. And he's a guy that takes a lot of time to build chemistry with guys. And then his receiving core that he did have was injured for tons and tons of portions of the season. They've had loads of missed games from their wide receivers and tight ends. They could never really figure out who their primary ball carrier was going to be. And on top of all that, plunked in the middle of their season was 4 out of 5 road games, including trips to Seattle, New England, Minnesota. There was a fourth one that was especially tough too. The Rams. They went back-to-back Rams, Pats. Then they got a home game against the Dolphins. Then they went back-to-back Seahawks, Vikings. It's like, you weren't expecting to win all 5 of those games. You were hoping to win 2 or 3 of those games. They didn't win any of the road games, and because of that, they put themselves in a terrible situation. They quit on their coach in the Cardinals game. The coach gets fired, and now they're looking around at each other like, we thought our season was done, but somehow, some way, Minnesota has come back to the field, and that 6th spot of the playoffs is there for the taking. The Giants got to feel like it's there for the taking. The Packers got to feel like it's there for the taking. And it would not surprise me whatsoever if, the leaders, in these locker rooms kind of rally their troops around and say, hey, guys, we were the 6th seed and we went to the Super Bowl. This season is not over for us. Aaron Rodgers is still a top tier quarterback in the NFL. Like if they get, I worry, I was leaning so hard for the Packers. And then I watched Tuesday's Audible and Donnie was cool on the Packers and more on the Bears, and I was like, I'm gonna come back to earth here. This is probably an easy one to skip, especially because they had the offensive line injuries. It looked like the Bears D line was going to dictate the game. Now it's looking like, maybe Packers are alive. If the Packers win this game, would it surprise either of you guys if they run the table and make that 6th seed in the playoffs? No freaking way. No way. They've done it so many times. Aaron Rodgers is ridiculously good in December. Like, for whatever reason, like, December rolls around, Aaron Rodgers just lights the world on fire. And, he's going up against the Bears team that's probably going to be coming down a little bit emotionally after that win against the Rams on Sunday Night Football. Granted, they're home. If this were in Lambeau, forget about it. Right. Packers win this game. But in Soldier Field, Aaron Rodgers is obviously pretty comfortable there. He's won lots of important games there. So I could see this where Packers are a live dog. It's just, the mismatch with the Packers O-line and the Bears D-line was what scared me off of putting a play in on the Pack.
All right, I think I'm an inch away from taking the Chicago team total under as an official play. Donnie Rightside, what do you think about that? And do you have any official plays for this one?
Yeah, I like the Green Bay Packers. And it's not the Packers. I don't think the Packers are a very good football team, but I just think the way the game is going to be dictated to play. Can we all see it at the end of the game? Let's say it's 24-14 Chicago Bears, and the Green Bay Packers have the football. Aaron Rodgers can go down there and get that. You saw it against Minnesota. If it wasn't for an easy drop touchdown pass by Devontae Adams where it just goes off his hand where Rodgers missed him by 6 inches, they cover that football game as well in Minnesota. They're going to cover this football game.
All right, I'm taking Green Bay. I'm going to tell you, Donnie Rightside, to make Green Bay plus
Let's go.
Green Bay +6 -115. That's the current line at UWager. And I'm also going to take the Chicago team total under. I will line shop for that after the show and tweet it out. Next game, a lot of these games I have at least a minor opinion on. Washington and Jacksonville. This is a really tough one. Obviously, it's likely to be very low scoring. We've got a very low total here at 36. The Jags, 7.5-point favorites. Washington, 3 straight ATS losses. Jags also got blasted last week. Should Jags be a 7.5-point favorite here, Donnie Rightside?
No, they shouldn't be 7-8. And look, I saw the Washington game. We all watched the nonsense that went out there where they had Mark Sanchez, who got me into that feeling where every time he dropped back to pass, it wasn't like, I wonder if somebody's open. I was like, who's taking this one back to the house? Because it looked like he had no idea like what the offense even was or who was open or which way they're going to cut right or left. It was embarrassing. But I did watch the Jacksonville Jaguars as well. And if we're all thinking that Jacksonville Jaguars, team is rallying around right now to see if they can get a couple last wins for Doug Marrone, they've already checked out as well. This is one of those games that's just going to be ugly. Cody Kessler out there just, throwing it around. And what are you going to get from the offense? Because I really, at the beginning of the week, Pete, said, you know what? Jacksonville is going to throw this football team into the Atlantic Ocean and beat them 21-0, or Washington won't even get a first down. But I've come around to say, well, the quarterbacking situation is not ideal for either one of these teams. I think they both quit. So in that detail, I'll lean on the touchdown and flip the coin and say, well, I'm getting 7.5, and I'll see what happens here. Because outside of that, good luck if you're finding motivation from either one of these ball clubs.
Yeah, I'm going to pass on this game. There's no way I can possibly lay. If you gave me a free play on the side here, definitely go on Washington. What do you think, Whale Capper?
If you bet Washington, you better hope that this is a redux of Colts Jags and it's 6-0.
No, I'm just talking about a free play. Free play only here, Whale Capper. Free play only.
No, I know. I'm just saying if you're betting Washington, you better hope that the Washington defense shows up and keeps the Jags under 7 points. Because there's a very, very real likelihood that the Jags defense pitches a shutout. The Jags defense is better at home. This is, they clearly, they did not look great against Derrick Henry last week. Obviously, that was pretty embarrassing on Thursday Night Football. But back home, I expect this defense to play hard, and really make things miserable for the for. Do we even really know who's going to take the snaps for Washington? I mean, I know. It's still kind of undecided,
John.
isn't it?
He's going to be the starter in this game, but
Johnson?
my goodness, man. Yeah, he's just going to run around like he's playing Madden out there, man. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, and he's got an offensive line that's the cluster injuries that they have sustained on the offensive line is really something. The Jags defensive line should eat. I could see, they get a couple of sacks, they get a couple of turnovers in the first half of this game. They're going to build some momentum and they're going to pitch a shutout.
All right, so we got to keep a brisk pace here. But what about that? Yeah. If you really think that's a possibility, what about the Washington team total under? Because you should get at least 14 right now. Yeah,
I would sell it to under a half. Get some nice plus money play in there. It's live.
All right, Donnie Rightside, you have any opinions on this one?
No opinions. I mean, the only opinion I have is it's amazing to see Washington gets more injured after every single week. I don't know how it's happening, but it is. But boy, who's watching this game? That's my only opinion. I have no idea who's actually watching it.
All right, let's talk about Seattle, San Francisco. Of course, Seattle on a short week, popped Minnesota last week. Most of us in the Low Shack in the Bag show had Seattle. Some people were on the Vikings last week. And, San Francisco, they've had turnover issues all season long. The line has moved in their favor, opened at 5.5 to 3.5. I was thinking maybe a spot take San Francisco. What do you think, Donnie Rightside?
Yeah, you know what? Talk about real sharp. Early in the week, I agree with you there. I saw it open up 6.5 in that range. I'm saying, you know what? This is one of those nice letdown spots. Not for a loss, but one of those where you just keep it close and, Seattle thinks they're going to get in the playoffs. They don't need style points. They just have to win and move on. But now that I see it come down to 3.5, and I'm not one of those guys that just says, well, the line moves, so it's an automatic winner. I'm almost thinking now, seeing the 3.5, I like Seattle now in this spot because I do think they're going to win the football game. I think they're a much better overall team, and I'm not going to bank Nick Mullins, who in a game that it looks like they're going to have to win to probably cover, is something I want to get involved with. But 6, I like it. 3.5, no. I lean Seattle right now, 3.5. I don't care how square that is. 3.5, if it stays there, give me Seattle.
No, I mean, it's understandable. I mean, Wilson, of course, tends to get better as the season goes on. He played great last week. This is on the road, though. Whale Capper, what's your take?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Donnie was right. The sharp side this week was San Francisco +6. It's not San Francisco +3.5. And it's moved. It's moved way too much inside the key number there. Some key numbers there, they'll probably be more steam for all I can tell. People have kind of talked themselves into San Francisco being alive here. I get that, and I get if I had gotten 6, I would be pretty happy with my value right now that I have in the pocket. Because Seattle effectively clinched their playoff spot on Monday night. They got a short week. They're in division. They're on the road. This is a terrible spot for them. Period.
All right. What about +4 at Bookmaker though? Still 4 hanging.
Here's what I want to ask you. How is San Francisco live in this one? It's that their offense is doing something. They're scoring points. They're putting points on the board to keep this competitive, right? It's not that San Francisco's defense is coming out and playing all world and shutting out the Seahawks.
Right.
So why in the world has the total not responded in the same way the side has? Right? Like this is sat at 44 with almost no action all week.
This isn't 17-14 San Francisco. Yeah, exactly.
No way. And so, if you believe San Francisco's live, if you missed out on +6, but you want to have, if you think that angle is sharp and has legs, then the over 44 is a look that I'm into in this one.
All right,
that was what I played on this game, and I think it's still a good look.
So maybe some correlation there between San Francisco and the over, and maybe Seattle and the under. Let's move on to to some of the interesting games that close out the week. The Pats and the Steelers, right? Pats, of course, coming off of that crazy ending, and the Steelers. Is Roethlisberger okay? He practiced on Thursday, so presumably we can assume that he is 100%. But it's definitely concerning that he had the injury last week. Some injuries on offense for Pittsburgh. I was thinking maybe first half over. Whale Capper, we'll start with you. Pittsburgh, Pat.
Man, this one is a very, very tough cap. There are free points to take the Steelers if you want them. The adjustment that we've seen, between the look ahead and the opener, and then now has gotten steamed even more in the direction of New England. It doesn't reflect the reality of how far apart these two teams are. These are not particularly far apart teams. I know that the Steelers have looked terrible the last couple of weeks. They don't look competitive. And people are all kind of assuming that this is the same old Bill Belichick, Tom Brady, own Mike Tomlin, and Ben Roethlisberger. They're going to get a win. Who cares if I have to lay 2.5? I think this is going to be a very tight, a very competitive game. I think this is going to be played relatively closely. The Steelers' offense has not looked as competent without a strong running game. They need balance, and they have not looked the same since James Conner got that concussion a couple of weeks ago, and it all kind of unraveled after that, actually. On the flip side, the Patriots likely want to lean on their strength, which is their offensive line and their running game right now. And I think you put the two together and you come up with a pretty nice angle on a total that is damn high for a game that means a whole lot to both teams. I could see it getting into the high 40s, but 53.5, that is a lot of points. I think both defenses are better than the market is really giving them credit for right now. It took some wild, broken plays in Miami last week for the Patriots to have conceded as many points as they did to the Dolphins. Similarly, where the Steelers defense is weak, I don't think matches up great for the Pats. So it's, this to me feels like a pretty tightly contested game. 23-24, last team with the ball, last wins. I'm going to take the under on this one.
Wow. Whale Capper liking the under. Donnie Rightside, do Roethlisberger's ribs concern you at all here?
No, it doesn't. I mean, it just seems like this guy's injured all the time.
Right.
Heads getting smashed out there like an eggshell. It doesn't matter. I've seen him where he can't throw a pass all week long and then zing it around and throw for 350 on Sundays. I don't think that's going to be the problem here. I do wish you had a legitimate running game here if you were the Pittsburgh Steelers, because the offensive line is very good and it opens lanes, but who's actually running the football? But this is one of the games I like in the NFL where I call it the wounded animal effect here, because you have a team now. Let's surround yourself in that Pittsburgh. We're going out to Pittsburgh. When you get inside their heads and have their own press conference or a team meeting there out there. This is a wounded animal game, because you know what happens in this game here? The Steelers, who are prime, hey, the Steelers going to get the 1 seed or the 2 seed. Boy, they're looking really good. They're going to make a run all the way to the Super Bowl. Now, reality check, they lose this football game, they're out of the playoffs. And that means Mike Tomlin's gone, offensive coordinators are gone, defensive coordinators are gone, players are gone, upheaval. Antonio Brown gets shipped off because he's going to mouth off and say, I didn't get the football enough. I can't believe they were throwing the Juju Smith-Schuster all game long. This is a franchise-changing game for the Pittsburgh Steelers, not so much from the New England Patriots. Do I think the Patriots are a better football team? Yes. The public can't get enough of them right now. Line opens up at 1.5, and it's bet up to 2.5. I actually got plus 3, minus 122 yesterday, which I already jumped on. It's not so much the capping of the X's and the O's in this football game, because this is one of the games where you say, if I lose this game, major changes will happen. The Steelers are a dominant football team at home. They rode out the Chargers in that football game. They were the better team the entire game. A couple quick flags, a couple tip balls that were supposed to be interceptions that weren't. They lose that game. They were shell-shocked in Oakland. I think you get the best Steelers team tomorrow, even though they're a little bit wounded on offense and injured. I think this is their best effort the entire season, knowing that if they lose, they miss the playoffs entirely. And that's going to be game-changing.
Wow. All right. So, Donnie Rightside, that's an official play from you. Pittsburgh plus 3,
Yeah, let's
right?
go. Steelers. Steelers outright in this
Pittsburgh
one. I got the points outright Steelers victory here.
Pittsburgh plus 3.
What kind of money line? Yeah.
And Whale Capper would also be leaning that way as well. He likes the under even more, though, as an official pick. So, we can extrapolate from that the Pats team total under might have great value. It feels uncomfortable to ever take a Pats team total under, but that seems to be our collective opinion here, right, Whale Capper?
Yeah, they the only thing, again, the thing that would bust the Pats team total under would be if secretly Josh McDaniels, Tom Brady, and Josh Gordon have been meeting in a bubble and no one knows about it, and they've got brilliant chemistry and they're just going to unload like the most ferocious passing attack that you ever saw, and no one saw it coming, right? I mean, but this is such a stretch. It's such a reach. Tom Brady has not looked like himself this year. It's either age regression or he's dealing with injuries that no one really knows. Yeah. But whatever the case is, Gronk doesn't look like himself. I don't know how often they're going to have the ball. Really, I mean, the Steelers can play a little bit of keep away here if they can get anything out of their second, third level running backs here. That's where the Patriots are weak. The Patriots aren't going to stop you on the ground. They're not going to stone you at the line of scrimmage. You're going to be able to sustain drives by, mixing up run pass. And the Steelers better do it because the Patriots pass defense is better than a lot of the past defenses that they've struggled even creating yardage and points against. Gilmore, McCourty's, these guys are playing outstanding football right now, and this should be a fun test for both teams.
All right, I hear you. Well, I hope the Pittsburgh does win, because I did give Pat's team season win total under 11.5 at the beginning of the year. I gave it. The video's out there. The archived footage is out there. I did give that one under 11.5. It's coming down to the wire. All right, let's talk about the Sunday night game, Philly against the Rams. Of course, Nick Foles now is going to be under center, right, for Philly. And the Rams, Goff got shut down last week. He should have a much better time here, being productive. It's a huge line here for the Rams, minus 12.5. Total is 52.5. I have to assume that Goff is going to be much better. Big bounce back start for him. How much better? Not exactly sure. Philly's been terrible since the bye, ATS. What's your take on this one, Donnie?
Yeah, this is a tough one. But then again, we are gamblers, right? Early in the week, set up the preference, 9.5. Oh, my God. Eagles are going to get shellacked in this football game. The Rams are in that get-right situation. Nobody on the opposite side that can even hold up. The front four of the Eagles is very good. Outside of that, the final 7 guys are absolutely horrific, and most of them bagging groceries at, Shop and Bag or ShopRite or Pathmark, wherever you're at. That's not going to hold up well. But then again, you start looking and say, 9.5, all right, yeah, that seems like 13 now all of a sudden. So now my mind starts to shift, because the Eagles' offense is going to shift. Is Nick Foles better than Carson Wentz? No, not even close. He's not even in the same stratosphere. But for a one-game scenario where you can play dink and dunk and maybe a little keep away, and we talked about it earlier in the week show, Golden Tate will emerge in this game with 8 catches for 88 yards and a touchdown, and Alshon Jeffrey will throw post-up balls, which for some reason the Eagles don't have anything in their offense that says, hey, Alshon Jeffrey's a really big, strong player that can post anybody up and go one-on-one. We don't seem to throw him any of those footballs, especially in the red zone. The problem here with the Eagles are going to run into it, they don't have a running game whatsoever, and that's going to hurt them. Last year with Nick Foles, you're able to mask it because you had Jay Ajayi and LeGarrette Blount running wild with that offensive line within an RPO-type offense, opens everything up. They don't have any running back, any semblance of that in this game. But look, if you're going to give me 13 points here, and we're just going to say the Rams are just the greatest thing since sliced bread, which they have been struggling a little bit the past couple weeks, I'm not laying 13 points in this game. I'm just not going to do it. 9.5 sounded a lot better.
Yeah. Well, Capper, what do you think? If we were going to give you 13 points, would you take Philly? Because if you want to take Philly, we'll give you that.
No, not interested.
No.
Yeah. I'm holding the Rams ticket at minus 11. The minute I caught that whiff of Wentz was questionable, I kind of all the flags went up, and it was like, oh boy, this is not good. Grabbed Rams minus 11 at that point. I think they dictate the game. They score whatever they need to score to get right. And I gotta say, man, Donnie, your boys, the stories floating around about Wentz was identified with the back fracture, and they didn't tell him. They let him go out there and play. He had a back fracture in college. This is nasty, man. And the kind of the air in the room, in the locker room, is sketchy. Now you get on a plane, you fly out to LA. It's the holidays time of year. Like, these guys are all taking care of their families out there, taking them to Beverly Hills and whatever. Like, this feels like a vacation. Season's over. We won the Super Bowl. We're gonna bring it back next year. Maybe we're mad at management. Maybe we're mad at the coaches. There's a potential for an all-time stinker here from Philly. The way that I see this thing playing out.
That was a hell of an argument right there by Whale Capper. Yeah, and I mean the Philly has just no pass defense. Their secondary's riddled with injuries. Goff's coming off a game where he got shut down completely. Maybe the Rams team total over, even if it's even if it's 32.5 or 33. What do you think, Donnie Rightside?
Yeah, no, I think the Rams will be able to do whatever they want because, and the thing is, I think you're actually getting, which whether you like the game or not, you're getting a free 4 points because the cap's not coming off of Wentz out and Foles coming in because the offense has always been the issue in this part of it. So I actually think that if the line didn't change at all from 9.5, I still would feel the same exact way. I just think you're getting a free 4 points in the NFL, which sometimes is a lot. And I think the offense will change a little bit and not look too bad. But again, if Jared Goff is right in this football game, where he can stand back in the pocket, you could just run 4 streaks all game long against the Eagles, and they can't defend it because it's not that the defensive scheme is bad. If you don't have players, you're going to get annihilated on the field. But I just think the Eagles might be able to keep it a little bit closer. Will I be betting the Eagles at 13? No. But I'm just trying to find that, contrarian point of view that says, wait a second, it's 9.5 now 13, and I don't think anything changed in the football game, even though Wentz is out and Foles is in this football game. That's the only reason why I'm trying to make a statistical look and saying I'm getting a free 4 points in the NFL. I'm probably just going to jump on it. That's my only point of view in this game, not so schematically X and O wise.
All right, well, Capper,
do you have?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was curious, Donnie. Do you think that the reports about discord in the locker room, is it all hot air?
Yeah, I don't think so, because that was some local yokel put that out where he knew he had a back fracture and they didn't tell him, which has been debunked like 19 times already. I don't think there's any discord. I just don't think they're talented enough. So,
well, Capper, let me ask you.
So that was all fake. Okay.
You think the Rams roll? Would you rather, if you had a free play and you could put it either on the Rams team total Rams team total over, or the Eagles team total under, which would you take?
Wow. I'm going to take the Eagles team total under.
Eagles team total under. Okay, so you'd have maybe a slightly.
Yeah.
The total has gotten bet down 53.5, now down to 52 or 52.5. Eagles team total under should be about 20 or so, based on the current market lines. Whenever someone says that they think there's a decent edge on a spread in any game, but especially in football, I always like to ask a follow-up question. In which related team total would you prefer? If you think the Rams are going to roll here, do you think it's more likely that they put up 40 or that Philly puts up 10? Sounds to me like you're saying that Philly might get shut down here and only put up 10, 14, something like that.
Yeah, I could see a fourth quarter 0-0. Really,
right.
This game could be well out of hand as you're going into the second half. They could hand off the ball to Gurley. He could kneel at the 1 yard line on 4 consecutive drives, and they score 0 points.
Maybe first half over might be worth a shot. Maybe the Rams come out like gangbusters.
Yeah, that's an interesting derivative. Yeah.
All right, let's now talk about the Monday night game, the last game on the card, New Orleans and Carolina. Carolina 5 straight ATS losses. I just kind of I think Cam Newton might be injured. I think the Panthers might be a fade team going forward. They're getting big points here, though. And the Saints, again, it didn't look quite, it was a little bit, made me feel a little bit uncomfortable the way the Saints got their win and cover last week, relying on special teams. But to me, there's something wrong with Newton. I think he might be injured. Carolina lost 5 in a row ATS. What's your take on this one? Monday Night Football, Donnie Rightside.
Yeah, a couple close losses in the past couple games, which Cam Newton is driving me wild, but he's driving me wild as a favorite and driving me wild as a total, where I got a mixed extra point in the fourth quarter versus Cleveland, and then all you have to do in this game, hand it off 3 times to Christian McCaffrey. You would have walked in, you would have won the football game last week, but we're dialing up fastballs at the 2 yard line when we're a power running team inside. It was just baffling to watch, but this is going to be interesting because early in the week, you're saying like they are a fade team, which I believe possibly could be true. But sometimes when you're getting points in a situation when you are an extremely good home team, close to 7, we're looking at the New Orleans Saints. You saw it last week, survive in advance. We just need a victory. And this is no longer your big play offense, it seems, from the New Orleans Saints. I think the Carolina Panthers will hang around in this football game. I don't think the Carolina Panthers win, but I'm not going to be surprised if this comes down to, again, in the last minute, 3-point game where Cam Newton just can't get the job done, but they lose 23-20, 24-21, 27-24, where he just can't get him over. I think the game's going to be close. I do think New Orleans wins, but I think Carolina's going to get the cover here. All
right, yeah. Well, Capper, I went with the Jets +7 in the Saturday game in the first game of the show that we talked about here. We have a similar line here. The Saints have looked a little bit uninspiring just from an ATS perspective over their last 2 road games. This is their 3rd road game, giving big points to Carolina. What's your take on this one, Will Capper?
I think you guys nailed a couple of key points there. 3rd straight road game for the Saints is a huge problem.
Yeah.
When you're talking about covering 6.5 points on the road against a good home team, especially in a primetime spot with their season on the line. On top of all that, I get basically a free roll here on the Panthers. I have so much Panthers regular season wins under liability. Like they just need to not win. Anything but 3 straight wins here from the Panthers, and I am home free on a ton of Panthers under wins. So I'm going to take the free roll and take a big old fat position on Panthers +6 here and hope that they cover but lose. And then everyone goes home happy. But from an actual X's and O's standpoint, I think this is a nice matchup for the Panthers. You brought up the point that you think Cam Newton is injured. He is. He's injured. He got hurt in the Steelers game. He got his shoulder got absolutely, barreled on two plays in a row. The second one, he absolutely was limited after that. He hasn't been nearly as accurate since then. He doesn't have a supreme wide receiving set that can make up for slightly inaccurate passing. And so they stall out on drives just on the regular right now. All that said, they have a nice set of weapons that can compete with, the Saints, especially in the running game. And I wouldn't be surprised if you see them lean on Christian McCaffrey pretty heavily in this one. And Panthers, this is their last ditch effort. This is, they're still alive for that 6th wild card spot. They only have to beat the Saints twice and the Falcons once to get there. So hopefully they lose this game and then whatever happens.
Yeah, I mean, that you kind of took the words right out of my mouth. I just don't really want to bet on Carolina if Cam Newton is actually injured. The flip side of that is, though, you don't know what drugs they're injecting into him to make him healthy for the span of time that he needs to be to play one football game. But what about the under? Now, I know the under has crashed, right? The total's crashed. It opened at 53.5. It's now down to 50.5, 51 at Bovada. But based on everything you said, Well Capper, sounds like maybe the under might be the best way to go.
No way.
No
way. If I was going to look at a total here, I would absolutely look at the over.
Really?
You're going to get kitchen sink effort on the offense for the Carolina Panthers. Even if they're down late, they're going to be chucking. If the passes aren't going to be completed, they're going to be hitting the ground. On top of all that, the MVP race is still wide open.
Right.
And Drew Brees, I got to think that he has his mind on that career achievement to go along with all the other career achievements he's racked up this season. If the Saints are comfortably covering here, are they going to take their foot off the gas, or are they going to give Drew Brees the opportunity to get more passing touchdowns so he can look better statistically matched up against Mahomes? They're going to give him the chance to score some more. So, this is an overlook. If the people who are out there piling money on the under, God help them. This to me is a no doubt over game.
Wow, so that would be an official play for you then, 50.5 or 50 at minus Pinnacle.
If it goes down to any lower, I'm putting a play on it. Right now, I have so much money tied up in the Panthers. I've got that I don't know if I can convince myself to put any more bankroll down on this game.
All right, Donnie Rightside will give you the final word. Carolina getting big points at home, a good home team, but some questions surrounding Cam Newton's health. What's your take on this one, Donnie Rightside?
Yeah, so I'll lean on taking the points in this game. If you look at the last 3 games, which is really interesting, and with the let me just lost this for a second, with the New Orleans Saints, last 3 games haven't looked so good out there, on offense. Maybe it is a get-right game, but I do agree one thing with Whale Capper says. Drew Brees has a lot of Russell Westbrook in him. If you gave him true serum, he would say, I will give back every single win as long as I can throw for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns every single game. There is a lot to that. There is no better statistical monster than Drew Brees. If you're down 10, back in the day when they didn't have any defense and they were down 21 points with no shot to come back, he's running no huddle under 2 minutes to make sure he gets another 50 yards, another 5 completions, and another touchdown. There's a lot to be said about Drew Brees and stat hunting, and that's a good point.
And on that awesome note from Donnie Rightside, we will wrap up the show. This has been the Audible Friday, December 14th, NFL Week 15. Thanks so much, Donnie Rightside. Thanks so much, Whale Capper. We'll talk to you both very soon.
Peace.
Best of luck this weekend.